Professor HFY had been teaching interspecies cultural studies at the Galactic Academy for 16 cycles, but she had never encountered a guest speaker quite like Lieutenant Jake Morrison. The human stood at the front of the lecture hall, hands in his pockets, looking completely relaxed despite being surrounded by 43 alien students representing 17 different species. Most visiting speakers prepared formal presentations with holographic aids and statistical data. Morrison had simply said, "Want to hear about the time I accidentally started a diplomatic incident with a vending machine?" The class sat in confused silence. "I'll take that as a yes," Morrison grinned. "So, 3 months ago, I'm stationed on Kepler Station, brand new diplomatic facility, very fancy, supposed to represent the pinnacle of human-alien cooperation. First day there, I'm tired from the shuttle trip, haven't had coffee in 8 hours, and I spot this beautiful machine in the commissary that looks like it dispenses beverages." A Cervani student raised a delicate appendage. "What is coffee?" "Liquid life force," Morrison replied seriously. "Anyway, I walk up to this machine, and the interface is in about 12 different languages, none of which I recognize. But it has pictures. And one of the pictures looks like a steaming cup. Perfect, right?" He paused for effect. Turns out it wasn't a beverage machine. It was the Zelnari meditation chamber. The Zelnari student in the third row made a sound like crystals tinkling. "Oh no." "Oh yes," Morrison continued. "So I'm standing there, pressing buttons, getting increasingly frustrated because nothing's happening. Finally, I hit what I think is the dispense button. Instead, the entire chamber lights up, starts humming this really weird frequency, and apparently broadcasts my confused human brain waves to every Zelnari on the station." Professor HFY's translator struggled with the concept. You transmitted your thoughts to an entire telepathic species?" "Yep. And I was thinking about how much I needed coffee. Very intensely. For about 45 seconds before I realized something was wrong." Morrison shook his head. "Do you know what happens when you forcibly project coffee cravings into the minds of beings who've never experienced caffeine addiction?" The class leaned forward, fascinated. Mass panic. They thought they were under psychic attack. Station security shows up, diplomatic corps is freaking out, and there's me, still standing in front of this machine, wondering why everyone's yelling about mental invasion when I just wanted a drink. A Borgathi student, massive and typically stoic, made a sound that might have been laughter. "How did you explain?" "Well, that's where it gets better," Morrison said. "The Zelnari ambassador demands to know what weapon I used. I'm trying to explain it was an accident, but my translator glitches. Apparently the Zelnari don't have a word for hangry." "Hangry?" multiple students asked simultaneously. "Angry because you're hungry. Very human condition. So the translator keeps saying I was violently desperate for sustenance, which makes it sound like I was about to start eating people. The ambassador backs away, security draws weapons, and I'm standing there trying to mime drinking from a cup to explain I just wanted coffee." The entire class was making various species-specific sounds of amusement now. The situation finally got resolved when a human diplomat showed up with an actual coffee and I demonstrated that it was, in fact, just a beverage and not some kind of psychoactive weapon. The Zelnari were fascinated. Half of them wanted to try it. The other half wanted it classified as a controlled substance. A small Vexian student chirped a question. "What happened to the meditation chamber?" Morrison's expression turned sheepish. "Well, funny story about that. Turns out my brain waves kind of recalibrated it. Now it's stuck broadcasting human thought patterns. The Zelnari use it for cultural studies. They call it the Chamber of Chaotic Cognition." Professor HFY made a note in her data pad. "Lieutenant Morrison, this is fascinating, but surely your species must have protocols to prevent such incidents?" "Oh, we do," Morrison assured her. "Extensive ones. I just didn't read them. Classic human problem, we're really good at making safety manuals. Not so great at reading them before we push random buttons. A Crin student, normally aggressive by nature, seemed genuinely curious. Do all humans cause such chaos by accident? Morrison considered this. Not all of us. But enough that accidentally caused an incident is basically a standard line in human diplomatic reports. Last month, one of our ambassadors nearly started a war because she complimented a Thorian official's appearance. Turns out telling someone they look radiant in their culture means you're challenging them to ritual combat. What happened? Several students asked. She won, Morrison said simply. Turns out the Thorians really respect species who can back up accidental insults with actual fighting skills. Now she's their favorite ambassador. They invite her to all their gladiatorial ceremonies. The class erupted in questions, each student eager to share similar stories of human unpredictability. Professor HFY realized her carefully planned lecture on cultural sensitivity had been completely derailed. But as she watched her students engage enthusiastically with Morrison, swapping stories about human peculiarities with genuine warmth and humor, she understood something important. Sometimes the best cultural education wasn't about protocols and procedures. It was about recognizing that every species, especially humans, would occasionally mess up spectacularly, and that was okay. What mattered was the ability to laugh about it afterward. Lieutenant Morrison, she said as class ended, would you consider returning next semester? Morrison grinned. Only if I can tell them about the time I accidentally proposed marriage to a Zalthari military commander because I confused their hand gesture for, hello, with their gesture for, I pledge my life to you. You're married now? Almost. Turns out you can annul an accidental marriage if you complete 3 trials of honor. I've finished 2. Just one more to go. Professor HFY made another note, humans, simultaneously the most diplomatically catastrophic and diplomatically successful species in the galaxy. As Morrison left, she could hear him in the hallway, already telling another group of students about the time he tried to pet what he thought was an alien dog but was actually a junior diplomat. The galaxy, she reflected, had become a much more interesting place since humans joined it. Chaotic, certainly. Unpredictable, absolutely. But never, ever boring.